Welcome back, America. You know, Richard Goldberg, I thought the president's speech at the United Nations was so unbelievable, right across the board, whether it was climate change and immigration, whether it was national security and war and peace, whether it was the United States and Israel and other allies. And he mentions, you know, the United Nations, your job is to stop wars and to promote peace. But they don't stop wars and promote peace. It is a hotbed of genocidal maniacs. So let me ask you a question. Why do we remain there? Why don't we kick them out? Why don't we start a new organization of free countries? I've talked about this for 40 years. Maybe it's just me. What do you think about that?
Well, I think you're completely right. If I had my druthers and we could get all of our allies to go along with it, we'd burn it down and we'd start over with a League of Free Nations like what you're proposing. It does exist there. China and Russia are there at the table in the Security Council. And so long as the Security Council exists, I want to be able to veto any terrible thing that they're trying to put forward there. That's a big card to hold. But listen, let's look back at what we do have leverage on here. We're 25% of the budget of the United Nations, $1 billion a year to their regular budget, billions upon billions more to a dozen or more other agencies, whether it's humanitarian assistance, quote unquote, or peacekeeping operations that fail to keep any peace. When the president says we're spending $10 billion out of the UN on peacekeeping, and I'm the one who's ended 7 conflicts since I've gotten around here since January, it's unbelievable. And so I think Ambassador Waltz, who's now finally confirmed at the UN, has his work cut out for him, but we need to have an agenda in front of us. You can't be financing an invasion of our border. You can't be conducting warfare against American energy, against oil and gas and coal, which they are doing every day across the UN and many of their agencies. You can't be the one of the biggest sources of anti-Semitism in the world. You can't be allowing U.S. taxpayer dollars to be handed over to terrorists, because let's be honest, what is happening right now in Gaza with the World Food Program that doesn't recognize Hamas as a terrorist organization is that we hand them $4.5 billion a year. They send 2,300 trucks of food into Gaza in the month of August, and 2 of them get delivered. The rest of them get taken over by Hamas. And that's our money that we're sending in going straight to the terrorists. So if I was Ambassador Waltz, I'd put forward a resolution to declare Hamas a terrorist organization at the UN. I'd say we're pulling our $1 billion unless you end warfare against American energy, stop financing illegal migration into the United States, the invasion of our borders, and finally dismantle the anti-Semitism and anti-American system that you have across the United Nations. We can do that. We decide with our purse whether or not we're going to fund this anti-American institution. I think the president laid out the facts very well. Now we have to act on them.
Now we have to act on them. Now, I don't expect the Democrats to support whatever President Trump does, but I think this is a real poison in the heart of New York, the heart of the United States. And I mean, if they're going to spend time just passing resolutions, trashing Israel, and you're going to have nation states in there that are really hideous in so many respects, you know, we can have one-on-one relations with them and so forth and so on. I just think the institution has failed. Hey, look, it happens. Institutions fail. That institution has failed and it's dead. And I think we should really be working hard to go back to where I started and trying to get the free nations or the freer nations together, form our own League of Nations, if you will, even though I hate that phrase, but nonetheless. And people can join it if they meet our standards. You don't join it just because you're a dictator who kills people and you take over a country. Final word.
Well, Mark, I would say this. Obviously, the UN itself is a terrible body that's doing harm to the United States, but it's also the sum of its parts. And so when we're having trade negotiations with European allies and they say, hey, lower the tariffs, we'll buy American energy, then they show up inside UN agencies to attack American energy, there has to be accountability for that. So if you call yourself an ally, a partner, and you're showing up the UN and attacking America or financing things against American interests or partnering with our enemies, or supporting terrorists, you need to be held accountable on a bilateral basis, not just a multilateral basis. And I think the president and his trade team should take that into accord as they're conducting these negotiations. It's great that the Europeans say they're going to buy $250 billion of American energy every year. How is that going to happen when they're also attacking American energy at the UN?
All right. Richard Goldberg, thank you, my friend, and God bless. Take care of yourself.
You bet. You too.
We'll be right back.